So again, my name is Cherie Jackson. I'm the head principal of Robbinsdale Middle School. This is my 4th year as head principal, and I'd like to welcome parents, students, community members, and staff to our information session regarding Distance Learning Plus. We all would like to also announce that we have Mr. Jay Hancock, Mr. Joe Purvis, and Ms. Constance Anderson, and those three are my dynamic team members for Robbinsdale Middle School. And the purpose of our meeting today is to explain our developing plans for the upcoming school years and answer any questions that you may have. And we just want to let you know again that we value and appreciate your parent input as we plan for the future. And again, the meeting is recorded. Next slide, please. So today's process, we have about 50 minutes, 50 minutes to discuss the following areas, which would be options for families, the block scheduling plan, the district's distance learning plus plan and what that means, hybrid learning and also what that means, and how we plan to keep students, staff, and our community members safe. Remember, our goal is to inform and answer questions, as many questions as possible in the time allotted. Next slide, please.
Hey, everybody. Just want to talk about the general guidelines real quick. We want to hear from everybody, but we also want to respect everyone's time and airtime. If you're not speaking, please mute your mic. And when we're speaking, make sure you introduce yourself and give us some context around who you are. For example, I'm a 6th grade parent, 8th grade parent. Camera use is optional, but we encourage you use it so we can see your lovely faces. Request time to ask questions in the chat. We will be monitoring our chat, and then we can address the order in which you can give the questions through the chat, okay? Thank you. Next slide. Just want to go over the Minnesota Department of Education's goals for the school this planning year, 2021. Wanted to keep in mind the safety of students and staff. That was our first priority. And also in-person learning, especially for our younger learners and those with the most needs. So they also took into account recognizing the differences in, the spread and amongst different age groups. And so the one thing, our 4th and 5th point basically is, they took into account the flexibility for individual school districts for support planning, and also taking into account the spread of the disease at local levels, cities and counties. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Sorry, hold on. Our values. Once again, you'll probably hear this throughout the presentation, but first and foremost, keeping our students and staff safe and healthy is our primary goal. Equity and access for all students, continuity of instruction across the school district, or especially our middle schools, and open lines of communication with families, staff, students, employees, and our community partners is key. And also being flexible to meet the multitude of needs of all of our students and staff. Next slide.
All right, so this is Jay Hancock. I'm one of the assistant principals. Just want to quickly go over the 4 different safe learning models that we do have. We have distance learning, hybrid learning, in-person learning, and online learning. I want to make sure we're very clear the difference between online learning and distance learning is that online learning is permanent. So that would be something that you, if you so choose to do, would do over the course of an entire quarter, semester, or maybe possibly the entire year. Distance learning is where the entire school shifts from having students in our buildings to learning at home. Hybrid learning is where students do a combination of both distance and in-person. And in-person learning is what we all traditionally know as students coming to school every day and being in their classes. Next slide. Right now, Robbinsdale area schools are in Distance Learning Plus for all students with personal learning unified supports. And we'll have more information on that, what that means further on in the presentation. But right now, students will start the school year at home through distance learning. Next slide. Now, our plan is to eventually bring students back into the buildings once we can do so safely. But we also have an option for families that if they so choose, they can remain in the online learning format, even when students do come back in the buildings. So as a family, you do have two choices. You can go with what your building is doing. RMS right now is in distance learning, eventually hopefully going to bring students back as soon as possible. If you want to keep your student enrolled in the online program where they will only be learning through distance, through home, you can enroll them in our distance learning school. And you can do that by going to our district website right there, rdl.org/enroll, and you can fill out that form. Next slide.
Hi, I am Constance Anderson. I'm one of the assistant principal TOSAs in the building. So this slide is talking about 281 distance learning schools. So K through 12th grade students may choose to learn at home full time. So this remote learning option is for families who do not want their students to come back into the building due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now for K through 8 students, the commitment is per quarter. And that means if you decide that you wanted to have the full-time at home and you say, hey, I do want to go ahead and have my child back in the building, then you'd have to wait till the next quarter. And in the high school students, the commitment is per semester. So you would have to wait till that next semester in order for them to start if you decide to have your child come back into the building. And then families must register for this option. So the first registration period for 281 districts learning school has been extended to October 6, 2020. And you have to register for this. So you just go to rdale.org to register for the 281 district distance learning school. Next slide. So right now we're doing the block schedule, and all middle school and high school are doing the block schedule. So they're going into the 2021 school year. And what's good about the block schedule is RMS is already doing a block schedule. So they've been doing this for several years. So it's going to be easy for our returning students to transition back in because they're used to the block schedule. And then we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail in the next couple slides. Next slide. So this here, when we're doing the block schedule, it's going to be, the block schedule supports all 3 of the models. So it supports the distance learning plus the hybrid and the regular in-school in-person learning. So student schedules will stay the same no matter which model because our block schedule supports all 3 of the models. Next slide.
All right, this is Jay Hancock again. So this is essentially what we call our bell schedule at RMS. When your students are working at home, these are the times that their classes will be meeting. As you can see here, the day is exactly as long as they would be as if students were in the building. Our traditional school day is from 8 a.m. to 2:45. And what we are going to have is that all students are going to start every day in their advisory, and that advisory is going to be an extended time. And we'll get to the details of that a little bit later, but This just gives you a time frame of your students when they are working distance, the times that their classes will be meeting. So once they have their schedule, you know this time right here is about when they should be working on certain classes. Next slide. This is a sample week schedule for a student, okay? So as you can see, our days alternate 1s and 2s. Every Monday and every Thursday is a day 1. Every Tuesday and every Friday is a day 2. Students then will have their classes in these blocks, and they will not have the same classes every day. Next slide. You can see here that the classes are 80 minutes long, and they're just going to rotate back and forth between each day. Again, for our returning 7th and 8th grade families, this is not new information. For our 6th grade families, you'll get more information on this when we have our virtual open house, but this is just a preview so you can get an idea and kind of grasp how a day works at RMS. And again, to reiterate what Constance said, the reason we are in block scheduling across the middle schools is that we want to make the transition as easy as possible for students when we do have them back in the building. The last thing that we want to do is upset the apple cart when students have been learning one way during distance learning, and all of a sudden they have to learn a brand new system when they come back. By offering our instruction in this model, students can easily go, I know that today is a Monday, it's a day 1, I have these classes, whether I'm at home or if I'm back in the building. Next slide. Oh, I think you can see here that Mondays and Thursdays, students will always have the same classes. Tuesdays and Fridays, students will always have the same classes. So that kind of gives you the ability as a family to know what the routine is and what to expect as far as what students should be working on each day of the week. Wednesdays are going to be a distance day for everybody when we do have the hybrid model. And we'll talk more about that once we get to that part of the hybrid information. Next slide. So during distance learning, teachers will be live and available during these times. So whatever your student has, their first block, their teacher that for their class will be live for the entire time from 8:44 to 10:04 a.m. That does not mean that the teacher is going to be teaching directly and lecturing for 80 minutes straight. They will be providing their instruction for the first part of that class, and then be there as a resource to help guide and support the students. And that's also a time then for students to be able to ask questions, to be able to ask for clarification. But we want to make sure that our teachers are live and available to students during the day, and that's this is the model that we have to support that during distance learning. Next slide.
And so the distance learning plus, so a little bit what Jay just said. So with the distance learning plus, students learn safely at home and engage in personal learning with unified staff. So a little bit what Jay just said, with this model, it'll be live meeting sessions with teachers during the regular school day. So the school day is from 8 to 2:45. So teachers will be online for that regular school period. So then that way students can connect with teachers during the regular school day. And then all the daily lessons are going to be recorded. So if students want to go back and watch a lesson because they missed something, or they just needed to go through it a little slower, all the lessons are recorded, so they have that opportunity to go back. Next slide. So a little bit more with the hybrid model days, just what Jay had mentioned before. So during the hybrid model, students in group A, so if you have a student that's in group, there's group A and there's a group B. So students in group A will be in the personalized learning, and with their classmates. In group B, they'll be at home, and then they're learning remotely with a live session. So with this, so the block schedule allows for one group to go in to the building and go to all their classes, while the other group will be at home learning remotely. And then they would switch. Next slide. So you're kind of thinking, what does that look like? So here's kind of an example. So we're not exactly, when it says not yet, we're not to the hybrid model yet, but we want to kind of put that out there. So when we get to that point, you'll know what it looks like. So when I said the group A and then group B, so half of the students in the class are assigned to come to the building on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then the other group, half of the group, is at home doing distance learning. And then they will switch, which, next slide. Then the students would switch. So then the other half of the students, so the other one was a Monday, Tuesday, so this is a Thursday, Friday. So the first half of the students will come into the building Thursday and Friday, and then they would end up and the other students will be doing the distance learning. Next slide.
So, of course, as we stated earlier, this is Cherie again. Our main goal is to keep our students, our staff, and our community safe in this very stressful and challenging time. And with that comes certain health requirements. These health requirements are online, and we've also posted some immunization information on Schoology. So of course, with health requirements for hybrid and in-person learning, which we haven't gotten to yet, we will be using our masking policy. Everyone who enters our building will have to have their masks on throughout the school day. Personal protective equipment for district support, student services. We will build routines of hygiene, education, and practices. One of the practices we want to build in is as soon as children enter the building and as soon as adults enter the building, they must wash their hands and report specifically to an area. We want to make sure that you know that we are doing daily cleaning and frequent cleaning of high touch surfaces throughout the day. We are also doing building level COVID-19 program coordinating, and we're going to have student supports in our buildings. Limiting, of course, all visitors and non-essential volunteers and any external groups that may be coming into our building, because we want to keep the area as safe and as sterile as possible. Of course, we will not be having large gatherings or activities that do not allow for proper social distancing. And again, we will be monitoring and excluding children and adults for illness. So in your hybrid model, which again, we're not yet to, we will be social distancing, of course, 6 feet or more at all times during the school day in our buildings. Our capacity in our buildings will be 50%. If some of you all joined us a few months ago when we first talked about our distance learning and hybrid models, the example that I gave was if we had a building with 900 students and 100 staff members, 50% would look like 400 students and 100 staff members in the building at one time, because we cannot accommodate for the total 1,000 individuals in a place in a safe social distancing capacity. This would also refer to transportation. So if a regular school bus held 45 to 50 students, transportation would then be cut in half. So about 25 students per transportation run. So again, Sufficient staffing leads to meet that we're going to have sufficient staffing levels to meet the requirements of each model. Next slide, please.
Okay, Joe Purvis, assistant principal here again. Want to talk to you about technology to supporting learning. Now at Robbinsdale Middle School, all of our students, grades 6 through 8, will receive Chromebooks. On the next slide, we're going to talk just a little bit about what that looks like for some of our students who already have Chromebooks. And
can I ask a question? Is this for Sandburg Middle School as well?
No, this is just Robbinsdale Middle School.
So why did Sandburg give me this link?
Not sure. Do you have a student that goes to RMS, sir?
I can answer that.
My student goes to Sandburg Middle School.
Okay.
Yes, sir. There was a glitch in the computer system that sends the messages, and so our message got unfortunately sent to some Sandburg families as well. Just the information that we're giving, a lot of it is similar to what Sandburg is presenting, but that's why you received it.
So
So
if our
is
child
there-
can
is
Sandburg
Sandburg doing-
exit the call?
If you go to the Sandburg website, you should be able to see the link for Sandburg Middle School. We do know that all of the middle schools are doing presentation from 6 to 7 on this day. So
Oh
if
my God.
you go to Sandburg Middle School's website, you should be able to do that. So if you exit, you can go to Sandburg Middle School and get the proper link.
Okay.
All
Sandburg.
right. Yep. Thank you.
And we apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused.
So one of the things
I'm glad I said something because it's pretty sure it's a lot of Sandburg.
All right. Sorry about that. So once again, we are supporting our learning technology, giving all of our students Chromebooks. One of the platforms you're using now, Google Meets, is what teachers will be using to support learning of all of our students as well. And I'm sure most of us are familiar with Schoology. If not, we'll ask those questions later if you need. But Schoology is also one way that you can access some of the links to our information. Okay, and most of our information is posted on Schoology. Wi-Fi hotspots for students who are in need of internet help. By all means, please contact the school and we can help support with internet needs. Next slide, please.
Again, we apologize if any of the Sandburg parents inadvertently get the information, but if you look in the chat box, you will see the link to Sandburg Middle School, and you can click on that link and get the right information for your son or daughter's school. Okay, so our Chromebook curbside swap. This plan is still evolving. You will get new Chromebooks if you are new to Robbinsdale Middle School. If you are an existing student of Robbinsdale Middle School, you will also get new Chromebooks. However, you will need to bring your old Chromebook back to Robbinsdale Middle School in order to receive your new one. So a few days ago, I posted on Schoology all the information about our school supply list. In that school supply list, there is also a link to go to for your device pickup. It is so important for you to download that link and look at the information in that link. That information will help you to get your Chromebook swapped out in a smooth manner. So right now, the Chromebook curbside swap, we are envisioning that it happens Tuesday, September 1st from 11:30 to 2, Wednesday, September 2nd from 11:30 to 2, and Thursday, September 3rd, from 3 to 5:30. So please, parents, students, check your emails as we are moving towards September. Check Schoology and also check your RMS website for more detailed instructions on the Chromebook Curbside Swatch. We are a one-to-one district, which means that everyone in middle school will have a device to use. Next slide, please.
All right, thank you. Joe Purvis again. Want to talk about attendance. So basically attendance will look like this. Our school day begins at 8 o'clock and ends at 2:45. Students are going to check in at the assigned time of their class. And they'll basically be signing in through the Google Meet session by opening up the chat and signing their name. Parents, if your student has to be absent for any reason, please call the attendance line at 763-504-4808 to have the absence excused. Okay, so the point person for attendance and the main point person of contact for any type of communication, for any questions around about your student, will be the advisory teacher. Okay, next slide, please. All right, grading. So basically we have our formative assessments. That's your homework, your daily classwork, assignments, and just want to make it clear that those grades will be factored into the student's final grade. Your summative assessments, any tests, projects, performances, labs, presentations, those will also be calculated into your student's final grade. Now, students will have the opportunity to resubmit any summative assessments, but that's at the discretion of the teacher as well. So they have to have that communication with the teacher. All work is due at the end of the quarter. So students have until the end of the quarter to turn their, to complete their assignments and get it in and demonstrate their learning. Want to talk about the honor roll and the high honor roll and what distinguishes the two of them. Students who receive a 3.0 or higher will be placed on the honor roll, and students with a GPA of 3.8 or higher will be on the high honor roll. Next slide. Just want to be very clear when we talk about our grading: extra credit, behavior, participation, attendance, and engagement. Those 5 bullets there are not included in the calculation of your student's final grade. So I just want to put that out there. They will be graded basically on their performance of summative and formative assessments. Next slide.
So again, this is Jay Hancock. At RMS, we are an IB school, International Baccalaureate, and with that, we use a number system for grades. You can see here, when you log into Schoology to look at your students' grades, you will see numbers associated with their courses and their assessments, and they're on the report cards. This is kind of a breakdown as far as what those numbers mean. The reason that we use numbers is because, and you'll see this in our virtual open house, there are descriptors that go along with each of these numbers. As a parent or a family member or a guardian, what you want to be looking for when your students are completing assignments are scores of 5s or better, because that means they are proficient in the skill or the task that they are asked to do. That does not mean that they fail if they do not get a 5 or a 6, but that means that they're proficient and they've learned what the teacher has expected them to learn. And just for a frame of reference, when you see NC, that equates more to high school when students earn credits for their classes. An NC equates to a no credit. So if a student would receive an NC, That means if this was a high school class, they would not get a credit for completing that class. Next slide. So the first week of school, our goal is to build relationships with our students and build relationships with our families. We are going to have our advisory teachers be calling all of their students that they have in their advisory class to start off the year and start building that relationship and help answer some questions. We are going to be starting slow because we learned very quickly in the spring that we had to teach students how to learn in the distance learning format. And so our first week is going to be doing that, not only in our advisory classes, but also in our content classes. And our goal is to, like I said, build the relationships, build understanding on what's expected, and then build the stamina to be able to do it in this model. What we do want to make sure that we incorporate is the flexibility and adaptability, because things are going to have to change as we progress through the school year. Excuse me.
I'm not for sure, but now I can't even get into Sandburg's middle school. And this is just such a mistake that, you know, I'm not for sure how y'all did that, but I can't even get into their website, and I can't find none of their information to log in so I can hear what's going on with them.
Sir,
Mr. Tone,
email
Mr. Tone,
again? Sir, can you check your email again? They may have sent you an update.
They didn't send me one. I was just going through my emails. I haven't got
Can
sent
you
one.
can you please put your information in the chat box, and we can have someone copy and paste your information to the Sandburg staff so that they can reach out to you?
Okay, will do.
Thank you, sir. My apologies.
We can go to the next slide. So our commitment as a staff and as a district is to develop those intentional partnerships with your student and family. We want to be responsive. And when you have questions, and as we found right now, when we have a mistake, we will own them and we'll do our best to make them right. You know, this is a new process, and this is all of our teachers, all of our administrators. We have not been operating in this model as in traditional school. I'm sorry, Ms. Katie Stan, thank you. And so, as you can see, we know that there are issues that are going to arise, and we're going to do our best to correct them as soon as we can. But also, we want to make sure that we have that open communication where if there is a problem, please let us know. Because what we don't want to happen is for something to build up that then it becomes a lot larger of an issue that we're unable to solve. If we can hopefully, if there is an issue, we can step in soon and rectify it. Next slide.
all right, Joe Purvis here again. Want to talk about the first week of school. Students should log into their Schoology accounts and they'll be able to access their virtual classroom meeting links. Once again, we already stated this earlier, but advisory starts at 8 a.m. on the dot. Next slide.
Hey, Joe, can you pause for a second? Sorry, Mr. Purvis. Can people see the slides? Because it says on my screen I'm not presenting, but I am, and I'm not sure what I'm doing since whatever happened. So can we see the slides? Resume. Let me try here.
No, I'm not seeing the slides. They froze.
Okay.
There we go.
Now it's working.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I think we're on the next slide. Yep, one more. All right, thank you. All right, so school pictures. We had to postpone our school pictures until further notice, but please just stay tuned, look at your communications and emails in Schoology for communications that come out for new and future dates. So fall school pictures will be postponed until further notice. Next slide, please.
All right, this is Principal Jackson again, and thank you for all of the wonderful questions in the chat. And we are trying to keep up with answering those questions. Remember, we will have about 10 minutes after our presentation to answer other questions as well. So please keep asking the questions, and our staff members will continue to answer them in the chat. We also have another opportunity for you to come and meet us virtually, of course, and our staff, your children's teachers. You will also get a chance to meet counselors and community partners next Wednesday, September 2nd. And that time is from 6 to 7:30. We will be posting the link for you to get into our virtual open house. It is going to be anywhere there's an internet, so you can get it on your smartphone, Chromebook, computers. We encourage you to have your children join the virtual open house with you. As again, we will be sending the link to you, and it will be reposted on Schoology. We will start promptly at 6 o'clock so that we can give you just a quick presentation, and then you will be free to go to other links for your children's band teachers, fact teacher, physical education teachers. You will also get a chance to meet community members and, of course, their classroom teachers. We look forward to seeing your new faces, and please know that we will be sending out more information in the next week. Next slide, please. So, per Governor Walz, children of Tier 1 essential workers do have access to childcare at Robbinsdale area schools. So the Basement Adventure Club will be offering school-age children childcare during and after school hours for a fee. However, if you are an essential worker and have the documentation for that, you do not have to pay a fee for childcare during school hours. On our district website, if you click on the basement, you will see that link. We also have pasted this on our Robbinsdale area schools website, and we have sent that information through Facebook, Twitter, and on Schoology. We want you to know how you can be a part of that. And we also want you to know that while your children are in childcare, it's only up to 12 years old, but they are responsible for bringing their Chromebooks, and they will be working just like they would be in your home. But we want to make sure that they have an adult who is supervising them in their childcare adventure club. Next slide, please. Now, for our special education services, we have several case managers. If you receive special education, if your children receive special education services, please be looking for our case managers to be reaching out to families within the next 2 weeks or the next few weeks. That could be via phone call or email. They will be trying to set up meetings with you and also introducing themselves to you. Our special education staff are going to also provide services through synchronous or live learning and asynchronous learning and teletherapy models. Our mental health providers, you'll also get to meet them on September 2nd at our virtual open house. They will also be available to support caregivers with creating structures, routines, and expectations for students at home so that they can be successful as well. Our evaluation process for special education students will also be conducted at student support centers following the appropriate safety protocols. Next slide, please. So you may wonder, can you still access breakfast and lunch for your student? And the answer is yes. So this fall, when school resumes on September 8th, we are going to resume our traditional nutrition programs under the National School Breakfast Program. So that means that all students can be given breakfast and lunch. If you are eligible for free and reduced meals, you know you have to fill out a form every year for that. And we have a link on our Robbinsdale Middle School webpage and also the Robbinsdale Area School, ardell.org, that webpage, so that you can apply for meal and additional education benefits. It's very important that all of our parents, all of our households apply for these additional educational benefits so that you can be eligible for free and reduced meals, or so that you won't be charged for free and reduced meals. So everyone is encouraged highly to fill out this paperwork before October. Next slide, please.
All right, so 8th grade web leaders and 6th grade students. So web means where everybody belongs. So traditionally, when we're in a brick and mortar situation, we have the web teachers, 8th grade counselors, and web leaders create a day of activities. And for the 6th grade, so we have revise an annual web day that our 6th graders experience it when they do a hybrid.
Excuse us, Miss Anderson.
Miss Anderson, we can't hear you at all.
So the 8th grade web leaders training, and again, due to the COVID and the building's under construction, so
Miss Anderson, no one can hear you if you can hear us.
watch through your Schoology emails, the Ardell Gmail account for upcoming sessions. And then for the 6th grade students, we'll get the opportunities to work with the 8th grade web leaders as soon as the web leaders are trained and in the district technology health and safety guides. So just keep an eye out for when this is all happening once we get back into the building. Next slide.
I think we're going to have to go over that slide again because we could not hear you, Miss Anderson.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize. I'm having some technical issues, so I'm on my phone.
Okay, so I'll say that slide again for you. Okay, so web leaders. Traditionally, when we're in a brick and mortar situation, we have our wonderful 8th grade students who have gone through an interview process and have gotten a chance to become web leaders. And I call our 8th graders the seniors on campus. And they are web leaders, and they act as models and mentors for our 6th grade students. Now, in a traditional setting, they would, can you hear me? Okay. In a traditional setting, you would be able to send your children, your 6th grade students, to Robbinsdale Middle School for a day of fun and activities. And that day is usually right after our open house. Unfortunately, due to COVID, it's a pandemic, and building construction that's been happening all summer at Robbinsdale Middle School, we are going to have to table our training date for our 8th grade web leaders. And we are also going to have to table our fun-filled web day for our 6th grade students. But we do plan to do it as we transition into a hybrid model. So we want you to keep watching Schoology, have your 8th graders continue to watch Schoology, because Miss Morris and Miss Marvin are on the case, and they are going to make sure that they get you in for a virtual web leader training. And we will make sure that as we transition into our hybrid model in the next several weeks, but not yet, we will have a chance to safely bring our 6th grade students in to experience everything RMS. Next slide, please. So we have come to the end of our presentation. And of course, I'd like to thank all of our parents who joined us. I'd like to thank our staff members who joined us and our community members. Your input is so important. We want to make sure that you understand that we value your children. We value your support. We miss your children. And if you have any additional questions or comments, my email address is in the presentation, and you can also get in touch with me via the RMS website. And next slide, please. At this time, I know we're monitoring the chat box and we've been typing away. We will continue to do that, but at this time, I am going to turn it over to Jay Hancock, Joe Purvis, and Constance Anderson. They will be taking your questions for the next 10 minutes while the rest of us monitor the chat room and answer as many questions as possible. Thank you again for joining us. I again want to say thank you for your time. As you see, next slide, please. This has been a collaborative effort from all of the middle schools. And so as you see all of our smiling faces on the last slide, we just want to let you know that we have all planned this together, and we want you to reach out with any other suggestions that you may have. So Ms. Marvin, if you want to go back to the question time slide, everyone can now, we can open the floor up for questions, and I'll let the learning leaders moderate the chat room.
So I'm seeing lots of questions about schedules. The district schedules across the district are still being finalized, and so the goal is to have those published by the open house night next week on Wednesday. Even if we were in a traditional school year and we had traditional open houses, students that come to RMS to get a schedule, they would get one at open house, but then we would have them throw that away and they would get a brand new schedule on the first day of school, because from this entire summer and just in a regular year, we're constantly moving students' schedules around just to make sure that class sizes are balanced and we don't have some that are overloaded compared to others. And so the goal for schedules being published in Schoology and on Infinite Campus is to have that done by midweek of next week. Ms. Van Sistine, I see a question regarding extended advisory and the purpose. The purpose is because we want to make sure that we're addressing the social emotional needs of students in this situation. And we want to make sure that we have one staff member, the advisory teacher, being that main point of contact for students and families. We found that it's especially important that we do establish that one main contact person. And having that extended time allows us to not only teach some organizational skills, some distance learning skills, some social emotional coping skills, but that's our goal with the extended advisories, is to, one, really develop that relationship between the staff member and those students, so we do have that point of contact, but also give us a time and space to help address those needs of students that typically they could get in an easier fashion if we were in person and they saw people every single day.
I had a question. What do you think the earliest would be that we could look into doing hybrid or in person?
The district is constantly evaluating the situation that's going on. And my understanding, and Cherie, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that The district will be looking at things and looking to make an announcement to parents sometime the end of September, the beginning of October, as far as how long distance learning may be extended. But we definitely will have, the district will be sending out a communication to families before that October 9th due date. So families can make a decision if they want to continue with the online school or the distance learning school, or have students return back to the building.
Jay, do you want to address the question about who determines what days kids come to school and what, you know, I know you have a little bit of that information.
Yes, as far as students, what day to be coming to school, that has not been determined yet. And that decision is not made at the building level. That decision is made at the district level because it involves coordination across multiple buildings. So as far as when that decision is made, that has not been decided. And who or when students will be coming to school, that has not been decided either. But understand that when it is communicated, it's not a building decision. It'll be a district-wide decision because they want to make sure that they do what's best for families that have kids in multiple buildings across the district.
A parent asked if they can keep the Chromebook that they had from last year instead of swapping. Just want to let you know, the Chromebooks that we have this year are an upgrade from the previous year. And so we want to make sure, in order to keep with the continuity of technology and up to date, we want all families to bring back the old Chromebooks for updated technology.
For sudden breathing problems. Schoology is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before.
So I see a lot of questions about immunizations. I did post immunization information in Schoology and via email. That information is also on our rms.ardell.org website. 7th graders absolutely are due for immunization shots or immunization records. That information can be sent via your clinic or your doctor directly to Robbinsdale Middle School. If you look on Schoology, you will see all of the information and all of the immunizations that are needed. Your teens also need some additional shots. So if you have teens who are going to high school or who are currently in high school, it is important to try to get those immunizations taken care of before hybrid learning starts. So because we're in distance learning, you do have a little extra time. That information has been posted on Schoology and on our social media and website accounts. And Mrs. Valmender and Miss Shirley Hatfield have been calling parents all summer, particularly those who are new to Robbinsdale area schools and new to the state of Minnesota. They have also been calling 7th grade parents to remind them that it is essential that their children get immunized for 7th grade shots.
Quickly too, there's been a lot of questions in the chat about whether parents have to sign up for distance learning or if all students are automatically in distance learning. Can somebody just clarify quickly what that form is that parents would need to fill out for online learning in the future? There's many people asking questions about that.
Yeah, so right now, every student in the district will be starting the year distance learning. You will only need to have to fill something out is if you want to keep your students in distance learning once the district announces the move to hybrid. So right now, there's absolutely nothing you need to do as a family. Your student will start in distance learning. If you believe that you would like to keep your students in the distance learning format, even if we come back into the buildings as hybrids, that is when you'd have to go to our district website to the enrollment page and fill out a form for the online school. But as of right now, there's nothing you need to do as a family. Your student will start in distance learning. It's only if you choose to keep them in that model that you would have to do something extra by going to the website.
So I did put a link to our Smart Start programs and Distance Learning Plus in the Family Welcome Back to RMS. That letter was sent out via email. It's also on our school website and via Schoology yesterday. So you can get the information for Distance Learning Plus and Smart Start, which is, it tells you all the information about meals. It tells you all the information about distance learning and hybrid learning on our website and in the letter that I sent.
And another question. My student is a 6th grader coming into RMS. Is it going to be like 7 different teachers for each subject, or is it just going to be one teacher just throughout the day teaching the same, like math, reading, so on and so forth?
They will be scheduled with all of their regular teachers. So because of licensing in the middle school, well, not as much for 6th grade, but they will have a math teacher, social studies teacher, a science teacher, and with the block schedule, they will see half of them one day and half of them the next.
So in middle school, to answer your question, you have a variety of different teachers. Your 6th grader will get a chance to, as Miss Carrie said, have a variety of different teachers throughout the school year.
How will we know what block day is for our student and what isn't?
So as of right now, in the distance learning model, and even during the regular school year when we transition to hybrid, every Monday and Thursday is a day 1, every Tuesday and Friday is a day 2. So, and then they would just alternate back and forth. As far as when we go to hybrid and students are coming into the building, when that decision is made and what group your student is in, that will come from the district in a communication to you. So you know when to expect your student to be in the building and when to expect them to be learning in the distance model.
So then as far as like group A, the block, okay, I'm trying to figure out this block model. You guys are saying Monday and Thursday is going to be, you know, just math, and then Tuesday and Friday is going to be just this other class. For the distance learning, meaning the teacher is going to be available to all students that would normally be in her class at that time then?
Yes, that is correct. So if your student comes to school Monday, Tuesday, they would be in their classes with half of their total class, whereas the other half would be at home learning through the distance model. Then on Thursday, Friday, your student would be at home and the half that was home Monday, Tuesday come to the building. That's only in the hybrid model, which we're not in yet. But that's what will happen when we do transition to that.
So then that teacher well, what I'm asking is during the distant learning, you're saying that the teacher is going to be available to help students, you know, to basically go through and say, this is what our plan is for the day during this subject. They're going to be available for all students who would have normally been in the classroom if none of the pandemic would have happened.
Correct.
For questions, concerns, things like that.
Correct. During that class period, correct.
And I'd also like to say, parents, our counselors, our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade counselors have been contacting parents all week. The 6th grade counselor is Mr. Sam Myers. The 7th grade counselor is Mr. Michael Grant. And the 8th grade counselor is Mrs. Shirley Backman. So if you see someone from Robbinsdale area schools that has called your phone or emailed you, that could possibly be the counselor trying to get in touch with you. We will also give you an opportunity on September 2nd, next Wednesday, to meet the counselors. So if you have any additional questions, you can also call them through our RMS website or email them. All of their email addresses are on the RMS website. We invite you to come to our virtual open house September 2nd, which is next Wednesday, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Remember, this recording is going to be posted on our website. And if you have any further questions after you've looked over the website, please get in touch with us. I've also included on Schoology the immunization information and the welcome back to school letter that has been sent via Facebook, Twitter, and our regular website. And it is 7:01, and I just appreciate you spending this hour with us. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for our staff members who came. Thank you for the children who joined. We miss you all. And thank you for the parents. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday virtually. And then again, we look forward to seeing you on September 8th in a regular distance learning school session. Thank you so much.